Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I want you, Captain America, to help me rebuild the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yes, sir.
We are the Thunderbolts!
Can't call ourselves that.
God, thank you.
When I became president, first thing I asked was about the secrets. Aliens. Who killed JFK? You're the only one I really trust. I'd like to talk to you about the future.
Welcome back to another episode of Movie Punditry. I'm Rand, joined by
Mike.
And we're going to do something different. We are going to start off today's episode with me trying to watch the newest trailer for Ironheart.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday, and I asked Rendell if he'd seen it, and he hadn't. And then he came up with the idea of, well, let me watch it live while we're doing the recording, and we can react to it. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
All right, so I'll just hit play. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, my guy from Chicago PD.
Who, the father?
So take it apart. Put it back together. And you can see what it's really made of.
You should take your dad's advice. Break yourself down.
Hold on here, right? Our boy Han Solo.
Here goes nothing.
What'd you say?
That's the guy from Solo.
If I'm gonna protect people, I gotta start thinking outside the box.
Out of all the things you could have built, with that big brain of yours, what this?
So this looks like this has a lot of like magic involved. In it as well, which makes sense when your baddie is the Hood.
Riri, time to wake up, love. What are you?
Your greatest creation yet.
Who the hell else would it be, bitch?
Okay. Initially, when I started seeing all the magic stuff, and I get it, that was going to be the villain, so that has to be incorporated.
Right.
I wasn't feeling the trailer as much. But when they brought in the AI, because I was trying to figure out how they were going to handle that, because in the comics, isn't Tony her AI?
Yeah. So in this one, this is apparently her best friend who has died, and so she recreated her as the AI, I guess.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with it. It's just like, how am I going to put this? It's like, it seems like kind of a stereotype, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like, sassy black girl. Like, do we really need to go all like 10 out of 10 on that?
And my thing is, why go away from, like, it doesn't even have to be an exact Tony AI, but Tony adjacent, I would have been fine with.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they don't want to pay RDJ for it, so that's why it's not going to be Tony.
Then I would have went with something, not Jarvis, but you know what I'm saying, something in that vein.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been, Friday, or it could have been, could have been something.
And even if you went with, hey, he doesn't have Friday anymore, and somehow she had got a hold of it, that would have worked. But wait, no, I think she's going to become a humanoid. I saw some reports that she'll be in Vision Quest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't mind sassy black girl. Yeah, I'm cool with it. It's making me a little cautious. I'm not sure if the Hood was the right choice for the villain. Granted, at least it's not, somebody with their own armor, because that's usually what we get. We get your doppelganger as the villain. Killmonger having his own suit. Tony fighting, Obadiah staying with his own suit. So at least we're not getting that. We'll see.
It
I'm s-
depends, I think, on what they do. So there's a lot of rumors floating around, and anytime there's any kind of magic or anything going on. I mean, especially since WandaVision, everybody's like, "Oh, Mephisto! It's going to be
yeah,
Mephisto! It's going to be Mephisto!" And and then there's a rumor that Sacha Baron Cohen has filmed a secret role for this series, and then so it's like, is he going to be Mephisto? And it's like, that's kind of a weird choice, and it kind of deviates a little bit um from Parker Robbins' like backstory, because he had traditionally gotten his powers from Dormammu.
yes,
But I could see where they can make it work if they wanted to go the Mephisto route, where he would just get his powers from Mephisto. Um, I don't know how it's all getting integrated with Riri, but my thought is probably it's going to start out being something like, they're like friends and allies in the first couple episodes, and
yep,
then they start to get a rift, and by episode 5, he's the full on villain, and but she's going
she's
to use like his tools against him, so to speak.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that that's what it's going to be. Yeah, I think that first trailer was better, and if this was to entice me, like to really pull me into the show, like I'm going to watch it regardless. But that didn't do a lot for me. It didn't do a lot for me. How about you? What were your thoughts after you first saw it?
Basically the same. I mean, I know I texted you about it. It's like, yeah, it doesn't make me want to watch it anymore. There's nothing in that trailer. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, now I'm really, really hot for it.
Yep.
It's again, I'm gonna watch it. There's nothing that's really pulling me into it from what I've seen in the story. And, I think that, we had maybe talked about this the last time, is that I didn't really seem to like her character in Wakanda Forever, and maybe it's just like Dominique Thorne is not doing it for me in terms of an
Hmm.
actor, but I'll watch it. Obviously, I want to know what's going on. Maybe it's better than I expect. Maybe they're just not marketing it right. I'll give them that. They've been known to make those flubs before.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be there day one. I
Yeah.
just I have some questions. Um, Let me see. Before we jump into Star Wars, what did you think about that Tron trailer?
I'm excited for it. I I'm a big Tron fan. I always have been. I love the movie, back in the 80s when I was in middle school or high school, whenever that thing came out. And I'm one of the 12 people who really like Tron Legacy.
It was really good.
And I was very disappointed when they canceled um the sequel to that. And this one is coming out, and it looks good.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely interested in it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Another thing though, um, and this is something that really ticks me off. Like, folks, please teach your kids internet literacy. When I say that internet literacy, I mean to distinguish what's real and what's fake. And I know that's the job of the education system, but like,
Man, it's getting harder and harder though.
yeah, yesterday my son was like, "Oh, I saw this trailer for Avengers Doomsday," and I'm like, "Are you serious?" And I knew it was fake, so I had to pull it up, and I just pointed out all the places where he should have saw that this was not that. They just
Yeah.
took
Oh,
clips from
this is a
existing
scene
movies.
from Endgame. Oh, this is a scene
Yep.
from Captain America. This is a scene from whatever, from Fantastic Four.
And I'm sitting there like, and a part of me was like, well, maybe it's because he's 9. But then another part of me was like, I don't know. I just grew up in a generation I was skeptical about everything, so I don't, fall for stuff online because I don't believe unless that thing says Marvel Studios under it. and it's coming from the official Disney account. I don't believe it.
That's really where it is, because there's some of these channels out there that make these fan trailers on the regular, and they're
Yeah.
really good.
Yep.
And now, especially with the AI tools and stuff that they have,
Yeah.
it's getting really harder and harder to kind of parse that. So yeah, if you're not seeing it on like, Disney's channel or Marvel Studios channel, I wouldn't even necessarily trust it on like the big outlets, because they've been
Yep.
fooled on some
Yep.
of them.
And it's just bad. Like I'm looking at one right now. Avengers Doomsday, first trailer. This thing has 3.5 million views. And this is clearly like some fan drawn RDJ with a hood on. And I'm just like, future does not look good, man. But some more uplifting things. Should we start? Do you mind if I spoil Skeleton Crew?
I have absolutely no quandaries about that whatsoever.
All right, so we'll start with Skeleton Crew, and we'll move into Andor. The overall story for this thing is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and it's such a disappointment that they basically tried to make like Star Wars Goonies. They literally tried to make Star Wars Goonies.
Which is
You saw
kind
the
of,
first episode, right?
I saw the first two, and then after I talked to you the other day, I started to watch the third one, and I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't
Hello?
for me.
Huh?
And I'm also one of the 12 people who hated the Goonies. So
Okay, I'm not really a big fan of it. So I kind of think I lost you for a second. You saw the first episode, right?
I saw the first 2.5.
Okay. So the story is basically that it's like, take it like a Pirates of the Caribbean type story, but in Star Wars. And the story is that everybody's looking for this treasure called the Eternal Planet. And it's that the planet never runs out of treasure. What it is that the planet, it's basically it's the mint for the Republic. That is the eternal treasure. There's a planet called At, where they produce all the credits for the Republic. The thing is, there's like this called the barrier. So the planet just looks like a ball of gas if you're on the outside of the barrier, and you can't fly through it. The only ships that can get through it are ships that are made on that planet now.
Hello?
And is
there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you dropped out.
Oh, that's been happening.
Yeah, so you're with the barrier.
Okay. So only ships that have a device that lets you fly in and out of the barrier can get through the planet. Most people don't leave this planet. From what I gathered through the episode I watched, nobody left. Like, you basically making these mints for the Republic is called the Great Work, and everybody thinks that they basically like condition you to think that this is what you should be doing. This is your life's work, and it looks like a perfect suburban planet. So the kids find the pirate ship that was the only ship to make it to the planet, and it turns up on this adventure where they're trying to get home. The little clips that you see of Jude Law's character on trailers, he actually is somewhat force trained. He was found by a Jedi, and just when the Emperor gave Order 66, the Jedi training him was killed. So he can, push things, pull things, but that's about it. It's got no ability with a lightsaber, really. And the story is just them trying to get back to their planet. But once the biggest, the reveal that this planet is where all the credits for the old Republic are mined. It's this really cool story, and I think they could have done so much more with this because they're creating old Republic credits. The planet is run by AI and called the supervisor, and the inhabitants don't know that it's AI. But the AI has been told, everything we know, it was told the Jedi are traitors, and nobody's actually come to pick up these credits. since the Old Republic. Life has just continued to go on this
So these
planet.
people are just they're just making these things and nobody really cares about them anymore, but
Yeah,
they're
and there's
just
just
they're just making them because that's all they know how to do.
yes, and that is the fascinating part of the story, that this planet has pretty much been untouched throughout the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire,
So
and
is this the planet that they're on in the first episode, like at the very beginning?
yes,
So yeah, so what really kind of dug me in that first couple of scenes was just like it just looks like a regular suburban neighborhood, you know?
yep,
It's like it could be like Main Street in Stratford, you know? It's just like houses and woods and a school down there over there, and it's just like, man, this is the part of Star Wars I've been looking for. It's just like normal people, you know?
and it's awesome. Like once you fit you find that out, everything you saw before makes perfect sense. And I'm like, oh, these are why the droids look like the droids from the Clone Wars, um, and why a lot of this stuff here looks a little bit older than it does in other aspects of Star Wars.
So the New Republic has just kind of passed them by.
Nobody showed up. Nobody has showed up. And it isn't until the kids make it back. So when the kids make it back to the planet, the pirates have followed them in as well. And, they have very little defenses. And Jude Law, so he's trying to convince the AI. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm from the Republic and I'm here to pick up the credits that we've been waiting for. And the AI is like, oh, okay. But the last I heard, the Jedi were traitors. And that's when you're like, oh, the AI's gotten the message, but hasn't told the rest of the inhabitants what's going on. Jude Law manages to kill destroy the AI. And you think it looks like the pirates are going to take over the planet, but the kids are finding a way to disable the barrier and reach out to the Republic. And then, like, a bunch of X-Wings show up. One of those, like, ship that Mon Mothma was on shows up. And unfortunately, it just ends it with, like, the day is saved and there's no other explanation. No, like, it could have done for a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Jake Gyllenhaal in the bar in Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah, just a little denouement at the end to kind of connect it to
Yeah.
everything.
Yep, exactly. Because it made me think, like, well, how many other planets are like this that had no idea that the Republic fell, the Empire took over, and I just thought, like, there's a lot of cool stories out there in this universe that pretty much have nothing to do with the Skywalkers and very little to do with the Jedi. And I guess that's a good segue to Andor, because they want a single lightsaber in that series, and I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Mike has been telling me for a few years now that I need to watch Andor. Andor is amazing. And I've put it off because there weren't any Jedi, and it was like a spy story, and I wasn't, eh. And I don't know, one day I just popped it on. And it's probably one of the best things I've ever seen that has to do with Star Wars ever. Video games included. Absolute. That movie made me put Rogue One as my number one Star Wars movie. Because Rogue One was already great, but that series takes Rogue One to a whole new level.
Yeah, and I think it's that it reframes Cassian, because if you watching Rogue One and you watch Rogue One cold, and how we've had it for the last 10 years almost now, when did that movie come out?
It's who's this fake Han Solo?
Yeah, and kind of a butthead, he's just kind of like it's almost like Jin's the protagonist, she's the good guy, and he's like kind of the bad guy who's going along with it. But I think the show reframes it, and I watched it right after I finished watching the last episode of Andor, and it was kind of like, especially when you put together that like Andor just like Cassian just went through these events.
Yep.
Like Bix just left. He just was, he just lost Luthen. He just rescued Mon. And now it's like a couple of days later, and now he's in the events of this series. And it just reframes how you look at him, what he's gone through, what he's doing, and why he is the way that he is. And that's that little speech that he gives to Jin about, oh, now the rebellion's real for you. Well, let me tell you something. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And, it just really gives that, to me, it gives that like a lot of
We don't
new
all
weight.
have the luxury of deciding when and where we want to care about something. Suddenly the rebellion is real for you. Some of us live it. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. You're not the only one who lost everything. Some of us just decided to do something about it.
You can't talk your way around this.
I don't have to.
That I'm still trying to sit here and like gather my thoughts because one of the reasons I'm glad I watched it. I waited. Well, actually, where I put it off, like it just didn't interest me. But I'm glad that when I did see it, it happened this way because I got to watch everything and not wait and just keep going back to back to back to back. And so, quick backstory: I get to work from home 3 days a week. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm home. And usually I put something on, it's just background noise. But this was awesome, and the fact that I don't have my kids around. My wife she works in the office, and I got to just work and just dive into this thing, and get attached to these characters. And this thing was so good that, to me, of everything I've watched, and I've said the past 5 years, Westworld and Paradise are probably my top shows. This is easily as good, if not better, than both of them. Like, it's that good. And there's a part of me that's like, dang, I wish there was more of this. But it's like, no. It's 2 seasons. That's it. No need to ruin it. Like, when I hear you talk about Shogun, and now I know they're coming out with a second season, there's a part of me that's like, no, because if this thing is as good as you said, then leave it as is. Just leave it as is.
There's this idea that like restriction, like restrictions are beneficial to art. That when you have like unlimited resources, unlimited budget, nobody's saying no to you about anything. You wind up with like the prequels, right? But when you are under the gun, when you are looking at every nickel, when you have to make a choice between this and that, and you're crunched for time, so you have to make something happen. Then you wind up with something like Star Wars or Jaws or like some other masterpiece. And I think a lot of that was this, because this was originally conceived as 5 seasons over, and it was the 5 years leading up to Rogue One. And Disney's everybody's whole thing about streaming change, their ideas of streaming changed. Like, the streaming model did not turn out to be the way they thought it would. And so they basically went to Gilroy and said, yeah, you got 1 more season, which is why it's broken up the way that it is into like these 4 kind of vignettes, or 4 almost like mini movies. Like each one of those would have been probably 1 season. And I think that's too much. Like, I think it's do the Gorman thing in 3 episodes, in 3 hours, 2.5 hours. Boom. Do, kind of the final fall of the Senate and the final things that formulated the rebellion in 3 episodes. Boom, you do them, and I think that really kind of makes it work better. It had to be tighter. There had to be no filler. It was like, just get us to the story. Those last 2 episodes are just like pedal to the metal the entire way.
Yep.
It's like 2 hours of just like, so you're sitting on the edge of your seat watching what is going to happen right now. And I don't think you would have gotten if they'd had stretched, it out over 4 seasons.
No, definitely not. And it would have watered it down. It would have. Could they have made it good? Yeah, I think so.
Right, but they would have had to come up with filler. They would have had to come up with, all these other backstories and all these other things. And, we're going to spend more time with this one, and we're going to spend more time with that one. And we're going to, there's like these little seeds that they planted, right? It's like when Krennic and, what's his name, Parchak or whatever his name is like, they're having that last conversation, and he's like, and Krennic's like, I can't help you, Leo. It's like, oh, these guys got a past. They have a backstory. They know each other. But they leave it at that and leaves you to kind of fill that in. And it's like, if this had been stretched out over a whole season, they would have been like, this is them and this is them. They went to the academy together and they grew up together. And, and it's like, we don't need all that. It's just, I can figure that out, that they have a past, they have a history together. And that's what's making this moment even harder. And it makes Krennic better. Because Krennic in Rogue One, he's great, but he's not really great. He's almost better in this than he is in the movie.
He's phenomenal in this.
Like that last scene with Dedra, where he's got her in the room, he's like, say the words. And, then he drops it on her. Like, I know that you've been reading, the intercepts. I know that you know everything. I know that you know about Edu. I know that you know about Scarif. I know that, and then your guy Lonnie has been reading your mail, basically.
That was crazy.
And he does the thing with the finger on her head, which apparently Ben Mendelsohn, like, completely ad-libbed that. But it's just, like, amazing.
That was really, really good. It's some of the best acting in the entire series, the right word?
Yeah, it's a series.
It's some of the best acting in the entire filmography.
Yeah.
It might be the best. And what's it's funny? I don't know if it's funny the right word. I watched Andor, jumped right into Rogue One the day I finished Andor, and went right into A New Hope. And George Lucas didn't know this, but A New Hope isn't serious enough for what came before it.
No, not at all. It's almost campy at that point.
Yes. It's like these people worked for years and died and did things that, rip away at your soul. And then you go into A New Hope. And it's
right, but I think it shows you like how do I put this? Like the hubris of the Empire, and it's like Nemec said in his manifesto, right? Like there'll be one thing that tops over the banks and begins, really begins the rebellion, or begins the beginning of the end. And this is and you realize that one thing is the destruction of the Death Star.
Yes.
That's what starts it. All of Andor, all of Rogue One, all of A New Hope, all come down to the destruction of the Death Star, and that is the thing that begins to topple the Empire.
And also, like, and then like you had pointed out, it's spread way too thin.
The Empire is, yeah.
And
It's
and
too
this
big a
something,
bureaucracy. It's trying to maintain a whole galaxy.
and it's something I want you to speak on because you've read the books as well. Essentially, like, yes, you have Emperor Palpatine, but a lot of these generals and whatever they're called are kind of like running their own little kingdoms.
Yep.
How is the Empire keeping tabs on all this stuff?
It's just looking at really it's just looking at results, right? I need this thing. And if you're providing this thing, I don't care how you're getting me this thing.
Okay.
Which is like with Gorm, or whatever. It's like, yeah, we need this mineral from your planet. I don't care what you do, how you get it, just get it. At that point, I don't care. And same thing with Jeddah. It's like, yeah, we need kyber crystals, so you do what you have to do. And yeah, everybody's running these little fiefdoms. I mean, you have this whole thing with Thrawn, where he's, is he even part of the Empire anymore? And Tarkin has his own thing going on, and everybody's trying to consolidate their power and trying to, saddle up to the Emperor, get close to whatever, but protect their own thing. And it's really very Machiavellian, and it's really very, and I think the best of Star Wars is where it's not fantasy, where it is sci-fi, where it is this stuff that's going on that feels very real.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at, what's going on in our country today with, all these things and, however you feel about what the government's doing, what ICE is doing, whatever. But it's kind of a parallel to what you see in different parts of the show. Like when he's on, like in the first season, when he's on that beach planet or whatever, and the guys are just like, "Who are you?" And all of a sudden he's in jail, and it's like these things kind of feel real.
Yes,
and it feels like, and that's what good sci-fi is.
It's a reflection.
It's a reflection of our society in this kind of weird way, in this other world.
It is phenomenal. And so then going back to the Thrawn thing, what is his deal? Because is he trying to make a play at running everything?
He might be. He definitely has his own agenda, and he has his own feeling about things. And he's one of these guys who just feels like he's superior to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even including the Emperor. And he has this innate distrust of like Force users.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this thing, they haven't really hit it on it in like any of the TV series that he's been, maybe in Rebels a little bit, that he has I think it was in Rebels, but definitely in the Thrawn trilogy in the books, he's got these creatures called Islamari, who they're like sloths basically, but they repel the Force. So they create bubbles because they are native to a planet where there are predators that use the Force to hunt. So their defense was that they can create these bubbles where the Force like doesn't come in. So like Force users are useless around them. And like he takes like his like command chambers and stuff and like puts trees all around it with these things in the trees so that like Force users can't get to him, kind of thing. Like they don't go that far in like the live action stuff like in Ahsoka, but you do see he's got this innate distrust of anybody who's like Jedi or Sith or any of those kind of people.
So to me, you're only doing things like that if you. I mean, you don't want to be taken in by Jedi, but you're also preparing for a showdown with the Emperor at some point.
Yeah, probably.
So then I think there's like another thing too, like the Emperor is a Sith, right? And so is there any book that delves into the backstory of Palpatine?
Yeah, there's a book called Palpatine, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that talks about like, his upbringing on Naboo and like his time with, and then there's a book about Plagueis and their time together. Yeah, so there's a lot of backstory with that. There's a book about Tarkin, like Tarkin's childhood and his days as a young officer and why he is the way he is. I mean,
raised as a Sith.
Palpatine, yeah.
So then was the goal to always, become an emperor, or what was the goal?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the goal, but it's also like the thing about the Sith is like each one of them is like, it's almost like they're looking for the next thing, So like the ideal, the platonic ideal of a Sith pair is that the apprentice will kill the master and then surpass the master. So it was like eventually the Sith would rule the galaxy. They didn't know which generation of it would be, and it just so happened that Palpatine was able to manipulate things in order to, make it him. That may or may not have happened or whatnot, but Palpatine always had this great ambition to rule the galaxy. And even though he took on apprentices, I think he was always very wary of all of his apprentices.
Interesting. I think that's something I'd really love to see on screen, whether they go, I think that'd be better off as a series versus a film.
Probably, yeah.
And give it to Tony Gilroy. Is he done with Star Wars, or he wants a break?
Who knows? I mean, he'll go wherever they pay him, but.
So what else has he done besides Andor? And did he direct Rogue One?
He did not. He did not direct Rogue One. He was brought in though to kind of help it along. They were kind of struggling a little bit. And Gareth Edwards, who was the director, they kind of were looking at where he was going with things, and they were like, yeah, you guys need a little bit of help. And they brought Gilroy in. So Gilroy has a co-writer credit. Apparently he kind of helped Gareth reshoot some of the stuff, which Gareth was like, yeah, come on, bring it in, complete opposite of what happened on Solo. So what happened on Solo is Lord and Miller were like, yeah, screw Disney, we're making our movie. Jeez. And they get fired. Gareth Edwards is like, oh, you think I need help? Okay, give me the help. And they make a perfect movie. So, yeah. Take the help where you get it, guys.
Yeah.
So Tony Gilroy, like he really kind of came to fame with he was the writer on the first 3 Bourne movies. Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, Bourne Ultimatum, and then he wrote and directed Bourne Legacy. He wrote and directed Michael Clayton. He's done a bunch of writing in and out and stuff. So he was a script doctor before that. He's like one of those guys who like comes in and like brushes up scripts and touches stuff up. So he's got a really good. It's not a super long resume, but it's a lot of quality on his resume. And then his brother Dan is also a director and a writer, and they've worked together on a couple projects. And then they have another brother, John, who's an editor, and all three of them have worked together on projects. So it's quite the family over there, the Gilroys.
That's really, really remarkable. I was gonna say something I can't remember. So where does Star Wars go next? I know we got Starfighter coming. There's that long rumored Ray thing. Is that still is that greenlit or that's still on hold?
That is, as far as I know, that's still happening.
Okay. What else?
There is another season of Ahsoka.
That
I know that is in production, I think.
okay. Looking forward to that.
There is Mandalorian and Grogu, which is a film that's coming out next year. You mentioned Starfighter.
I'm excited for that.
Supposedly there's a Dave Filoni movie coming out. Supposedly there's like a James Mangold movie coming out. There may still be a Rian Johnson project in the works somewhere. And then Sean Levy's got a thing going on with Ryan Gosling.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff still in the hopper.
Okay.
What comes out of that, how much of that actually hits the screen, it's always going to be one of those things. You never know until it hits the screen. Until I see a good trailer.
And I'll say this: in the video game department, they're doing really well. In the video game department, like what's crazy? They're kind of doing better than Marvel right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going back through your text looking for something, and I'm coming up with that whole stream where you're watching the first beginning of the season, and it's like you keep talking about middle management.
Oh, that guy was weird. He was weird. So
that's Cyril for you folks who don't know what I'm talking about.
The minute I saw him, all I could think about was the main character from Severance, and I can't remember his name. I just the from Parks and Rec. Leslie Knope's husband. And that's the minute I saw him, that's what I thought of. He was weird. And so was his wife.
He was weird. But I think I honestly I don't know, we're kind of rolling back, but I think he had a really like his end was so tragic. Because he was so obsessed with Cassian and so convinced that Cassian was doing the things that he was doing almost as an affront to him personally, and to get him and to be drawn down on him, and the Cassian looking at him and be like, who are you? It's just like, wow, that sucks. And then to get shot in the head.
Yeah, that was bad. It's a bad way to go. Let me see. All right, I think that wraps it up for Star Wars. What are you watching right now?
What am I watching? What am I watching right now? I started watching, was it Department Q on Netflix? I don't know if I'm going to stick with it. It's not really. It's kind of one of those dry British cop shows. So, which they have their moments. I love Luther, but this is one Jill and I started watching the first episode and we kind of tapped out of it. I may go back to it and just because me, I like to push through 2 or 3 episodes until I get to just find something that I like, that I can kind of hold on to. So I will try to do that. Trying to think. I'm trying to think of what else I've been watching lately, and I can't really say that there's anything new that I've been watching. I think I just finished up Andor. I've just been kind of like in rerun heaven, and rewatching like Rogue One and A New Hope, and just watching some like old stuff on TV.
I'm gonna start Rings of Power.
Oh, you haven't watched it at
I've
all?
watched like 2 episodes, then I stopped, and then I ended up watching the Two Towers yesterday and Return of the King. So I'm like, you know what? Let me restart this show and see if I can get into it. It just felt like it was moving too slow for me, but I think maybe it'll work out differently this time.
Yeah, I mean, Rings of Power, like I think it's one of those things that's kind of a slow burn to start with, but man, once you really start to get into it, it's it kind of gets really good. The second season, I think, is much better than the first season. At least it was for me.
Yeah.
Especially like the stuff. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but where like they really start to get to figuring out like who the guy is, and like everybody starts to kind of figure out like who they are. And the roles start to become like a little more familiar. And now as a Lord of the Rings fan, you're starting to put things together and connect it to maybe what you're more familiar with, if that makes any sense.
All right, so I'll definitely have to get on that. All right, anything else before we get out of here?
I think that's about it, man. I think we've covered a bunch of stuff.
All right, so I guess we can talk Lord of the Rings next episode.
All right, that'll work for me. I'm always up for going to Middle Earth.
I will have to. Well, can't do it this week. It's gonna be like 80 degrees, but it's supposed to rain next week, so I think I can catch up on everything. I'll rewatch the first 3 films, and you know what I like to talk about? It was The Desolation of Smaug. Then what came after that?
So that's the second movie. So there's the first one is An Unexpected Journey. The second one is The Desolation of Smaug. The third one is
and that where does that?
It's about the
fit in the timeline.
I would say the War of the Five Kings, but that's the War of the Five Armies. Five Kings is Game of Thrones. Five Armies is The Hobbit.
Where does that series fit in the timeline?
It's about 60 years before the Lord of the Rings.
Okay. All right. So we're going to Middle Earth next. Sounds good to me. Folks, thank you for joining us, and please come back and join us as we take a trip to Middle Earth.
Absolutely. We thank you for listening, and we will catch you guys next time.